and their product is really it really is a great intermediary and helps take Miva merchant stores to the next level. Historically, before companies like eBridge existed, it was usually a custom integration to get these kind of systems done, and there was never enough volume of need, and every integration was so unique that there was no economy of scale. And eBridge has solved that problem, and we have a number of live customers using their service, and they're very responsive to helping get the service working the way the customer needs. It's in effect a semi-custom integration, and I'll let the team from eBridge go into that, and I'll be here at the end to answer any questions about Miva Merchant and our relationship with eBridge. But for now, I'd like to introduce the team from eBridge, Kevin and Dave.
Great, thanks Rick. Hi everyone, and welcome, and thanks for coming today. My name is Kevin Martin, and I work in the marketing department here at eBridge. I also have Dave Malda, our sales and marketing manager, as well as Mike Catalfamo, our technical sales engineer, here with me today to help present and answer any questions that might come up. The presentation should only run about 15 to 20 minutes, which usually leaves us enough time for questions and discussion at the end. Feel free to submit any questions throughout the presentation, though, through the GoToMeeting application. We'll do our best to answer every question at the end of the presentation, but if anything comes up that requires some investigation on our part, we'll be sure to summarize the answers and share them via email later today. And before we kick things off, we just wanted to run a bit of a quick poll just to find out what accounting packages you guys are using out there, just to get a sense of the audience that we're talking to today. So if you don't mind, we're just going to launch that now and just pick out of the short list there what you guys are running. Okay, so it looks like the vast majority, close to 80%, are running either QuickBooks or Peachtree, so that small business market, which is great because that's where our solution really shines. So we'll touch on that a lot later, but let's get started. So here's a brief agenda outlining what we'll cover today. I'll do a brief introduction to eBridge as a company, and then dive right into the solution overview. We have some high-level diagrams and screenshots to share with you, and then Dave will take over near the end to present some basic pricing information to close out the webinar and open up the floor to questions. So we've been in business since 1993. Our roots here at eBridge are traditionally in EDI integration, so that would be connecting your accounting package to various trading partners like Home Depot or Walmart to automate that flow of data when they require EDI. However, the last couple of years, e-commerce has been our prime focus. We currently have close to 2,500 customers located throughout the world in a countless number of industries and sectors. Basically anywhere where you need an accounting package, something to talk to, we're there. Our staff, 50 here at eBridge, is responsible for building, maintaining, and supporting our solutions completely in-house. None of the development or support for our solution is outsourced. We're also probably the only vendor with such a wide breadth of support for over 40 accounting and ERP systems. We're growing that list every day. We're the leader in last mile integration for the small to medium-sized business market, and this has been our target niche. However, we do service that enterprise market as well. In addition to partnering with Miva Merchant, we also have strong partnerships with our related software publishers. And a key part of our strategy is to make sure that we have strong ties with accounting publishers such as Microsoft, Sage, SAP, and Intuit, for example. We've also partnered with CRM companies like Salesforce.com and various e-commerce hubs such as eBay, as a lot of the e-commerce merchants that we talk to on a daily basis are running stores or selling goods in those marketplaces. And we'll touch on how we work with that a little later. The goal of these partnerships, though, is to remain current with all of the latest software, applications, and accounting packages out there in order to keep our customers current. So the next few slides are going to give you a look at our integration solution that we offer for Miva Merchant users. As you can see on this slide here, and that's just a partial list of our supported packages.
Kevin?
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm still seeing the quick pull on my screen. So,
okay, let me see if we can get rid of that for you. Is it still there now?
No, I see it now. I wasn't sure if everyone else was seeing that, but that's what I was seeing.
Okay, yeah, sorry for anyone that was looking at that quick poll for the last couple of minutes. I do apologize. Seems to have stuck up on the screen there. But basically everything I've been talking about, if you've heard me, was covered in the slides before this, so you haven't really missed anything. So continue on. So yeah, like I was saying, as you can see about just the partial list of supported packages there, we have the vast majority of accounting and ERP packages already covered and supported. We've developed a universal integration connector for Miva Merchant that allows you to integrate it with over any of our 40-plus accounting systems, as well as our CRM suites that we're constantly building out that portfolio. So let's take a look now at the actual solution. The diagram shown here depicts the entire process of integration between your Miva Merchant store and your back office accounting system. So starting on the left, your Miva Merchant store connects to the ePortal, which is our online integration platform. This connection allows us to transfer data bidirectionally. So items such as sales orders and customer information are passed down from your store to the accounting package, while information such as new product info or inventory updates are automatically pushed right up to your Miva store. You also get a mailbox within the ePortal, which allows you to view orders and information being passed through. And I do have a couple of screenshots of that to share in a moment. So next, moving to the right, we install a very small on-premise integration module on your computer running the accounting software. This is the piece that lets the ePortal communicate with your accounting package and vice versa. The technology inside this module allows us to map the business rules of your system, which means that instead of just passing a raw data file, which is what a lot of the lighter integration tools do, we actually validate the data based on the business rules that you've established in your accounting system, and also provide exception reports if any issues do happen to occur. So the end result of this is clean, valid information with data sent to the appropriate fields automatically and without error. This same reliability is seen when data travels from the accounting system up to your store as it passes through the same translation process. So as you can see, we offer a true bidirectional exchange of information, which helps you keep both platforms up to date. You're also able to choose your own update interval, so you can have the schedule run every half hour, every 10 minutes, or even on demand if you prefer. So the list below that I just popped there underneath the diagram includes our 5 standard e-commerce integration touchpoints, most of which I mentioned in the explanation before. And as of the latest version of Miva Merchant, we have confirmed that we are able to support all 5 of these touchpoints, which makes it a pretty robust solution. I'd say the vast majority of merchants that we talk to see their integration needs taken care of well within these 5. So as I mentioned before, we've got a couple screenshots here. The first screenshot is an example of what a sales order would look like within the ePortal. So as you can see, it looks very much like any sales order would anywhere else, which makes it very easy to review and interact with in that midpoint. We also have an example of a log report or an exception report that I mentioned before. So this comes in handy to pinpoint any problematic orders and highlights them in pink, as you can see right there on the middle of the page. The integration solution is completely automated, so these aren't things you would normally be interacting with on a regular basis. However, we feel it's important to provide this transparency and show what's actually being passed through our system at any point and allow you to view it. So as I mentioned before, many of the merchants we talk to and are currently with us are doing business on popular e-commerce hubs like eBay or Amazon. And they're also using CRM apps such as Salesforce.com. Great news is that we have you covered for integration with these services as well. And once your integration module for your accounting system is in place, adding integration for eBay, for example, is just a bolt-on addition and an added monthly fee. Some of our merchants are also doing business with larger companies that require EDIs, like the Walmarts and the Home Depots, like I mentioned before. Yeah, so because our roots are there, like I mentioned before, since 1993 we've been providing EDI integration. We now have hundreds of EDI trading partners already supported and available should the integration need arise. And again, I do want to stress that this is on an as-needed basis and fairly easy to deploy once your initial integration is set up with Miva Merchant. It's a great way to expand and leverage the investment you've made. So before we carry on here, we just want to see if we can run another quick poll. And this one's just kind of giving us an idea of how many orders your store might see in any given week. I think we've got it set at a week, just to give us an idea of again, the size of the business you guys are running. So if you don't mind, we're just going to launch it now. Just take a quick second to select from the list. Orders. Okay, so it looks like the majority are in either the 0 to 25 or the 25 to 100, which is great. Again, it falls in line with most of you running QuickBooks or Peachtree. It's about what we expected, so that's great. So we'll continue on here. The next slide, just one brief slide here that helps answer some of the basic questions around the technologies we use to transmit data. All communication between your Miva Merchant Store and your online integration platform are handled through secure HTTPS channels and are handled through various web service calls. When the ePortal is talking to the on-premise integration module, data is sent in the form of XML documents that are passed through web services. And finally, the on-premise module communicates with your accounting package through various technologies which allow us to replicate the business logic of your package. And if you do have any questions about any of that, please submit them as soon as you can through that question tool in GoToMeeting, because Mike, our tech engineer, does have to slip out a little early for another meeting, but we'd love to have him be able to answer your questions right away today. So I just want to do a bit of a recap now on some of the merchant benefits that I've just gone over. Number one, the fact that our universal connector from Miva supports over 40 accounting packages. I know that where you're sitting right now, that might not mean very much to you, as chances are you're only running one accounting package. But it is important for when your company grows. For example, if you're currently running something like QuickBooks and your order volume were to triple over the next year or two, you might need to move on to something more robust, say like Microsoft Dynamics GP. In this case, eBridge grows with you and allows you to continue on business as usual, integration continuing to run. So instead of investing in an entirely new integration solution that would be tailored to that new package, your investment's protected and carries on with you. The integration is also fully automated, which means you don't have to worry about it. Once your scheduler is set up, it's all automatic. It eliminates the potential for human errors during data entry. These can often result in very costly order mistakes, improper shipping info, or prices being put in that you later have to pay the price for. By eliminating that manual data entry, it also frees up the labor that was previously devoted to it. The savings here continue to increase alongside increases to your order volume, saving more as you grow. As I mentioned before, we support the popular e-commerce hubs like eBay and Amazon in addition to your Miva store. We also stand behind our work. All of our modules are tested and developed to work with the latest versions of accounting software, and we ensure that the connections are intact and functioning as expected. So if Miva Merchant were to upgrade or change their platform in any way that might affect data transfer, we ensure that your integration remains intact through that. And lastly, merchants usually see a very fast return on their investment, especially in that small business space, which, as we've seen through the poll, seems to be the majority of you, which is great news. So that pretty much covers my portion of it. So I'll go ahead and pass the reins over to Dave here so he can share some of our basic pricing information for you.
Hi, everyone. We did have a couple of questions I see coming in with regards to pricing. So I'll review those now, and of course we can entertain any questions towards the end of the webinar. Basically, the way the pricing works is we break out by accounting package, small, medium, and enterprise. The small comprising of, on the left-hand side, you can see the list there, Simply Accounting, Peachtree, QuickBooks, all the different versions of QuickBooks. And then in the mid-space, it's really a lot of the Dynamics and Sage Mass products, including AccountMate, SAP Business One is also a very popular one, and Exact, Macola, Everest. And then on the enterprise side, the Mass 500s, Dynamics AX, and then both Epicor products as well. So with that being said, they each are categorized by a different pricing structure, although fairly simple. I should add that once you get into the mid and the enterprise spaces and those packages, a lot of times there's customizations that have been done to the particular ERP or accounting package, and that, of course, can directly impact the setup time because you've tailored the system, obviously, to meet your business requirements, and thus we need to take a look at that and make sure that we properly scope that out and implement all of the correct field level mappings, etc. So you can see there a quick snapshot of the pricing. It's $99 a month for the small market with about a 2-day setup on average. In the mid space, it's $199 a month, and then of course in the enterprise space, it's $399 a month. That does cover our standard Miva integration touch points, and you can see the list on the right there. It's basically orders being brought down from the web store with the customer on the fly. Then we've also got inventory and product updates going back up to the store. So those are just some of the standard touch points that we offer today, but of course as we deploy our connection and as we get more customers on board, we will enhance it as well. So that's it for the pricing. Now I do see a couple of questions coming in here. One from, forgive me if I mispronounce the name, I think it's Shaz. What is involved in the setup is the question. Basically what we do is we have an on-premise bridge that we install with some maps. That'll get installed, and then we connect it to our e-portal solution, which is connected to Miva Merchant in order to set up the scheduled orders. So it's a fairly standard setup. Again, once you get into the mid and the enterprise spaces, it can get a little more complex, but it all depends on the customizations that you've put in your accounting package or ERP.
I was just going to also mention too the $500 setup cost there is for the QuickBooks packages on the left. It doesn't really match up with that $1,400 a day setup rate that you see in the medium to enterprise space. That's in part because we've actually managed to recruit a small team of certified QuickBooks Pro advisors that are certified through Intuit to assist us in installing for those customers. So that's brought the cost of that way down. We also have, like I said, they're certified QuickBooks Pro advisors, so we have that trusted source there as well. In addition to what Dave was just talking about in relation to pricing, I do also want to point out that your monthly subscription cost, that middle column there, also includes your mailbox in the e-portal, the module, as well as all maintenance and support while you're a customer. And also just in the bottom right there, there's a little piece there in regards to the multi-store integration. So if you wanted to add your eBay store or Amazon store, it would just cost $50, $75, or $100 per month for the small, medium, and enterprise packages, respectively. Were there any more price-related questions that came in?
No, but there are a couple of other questions that we might as well open up the floor to questions for both Miva and eBridge.
Yeah, I think we had everything covered here. So I know there were a couple questions that Rick might be able to chime in on as well. So yeah, we'll open up the floor. If anyone hasn't submitted and would like to actually hop on the line and speak, just send us a message in the chat, and I can unmute you if we need to. So start off with some questions here. Sorry, just bear with us. There are a bunch of questions just kind of pouring in here, so we're just trying to collect them and see what we can start off with, kick things off for Q&A. There is one question here asking how this stacks up against Miva's Synchro offering and if Miva is going to continue to support Synchro. Rick, I don't know if you had anything to say about in regards to the support for Synchro moving forward.
Synchro is not changing as a product, nor it's not going away. We do have some updates planned for it here shortly after PR8's released. But Synchro is fundamentally a different product than eBridge. I mean, they do cross over a little bit. Synchro for you guys at eBridge is our QuickBooks connector. It's a synchronizing tool that sits on your desktop. Mm-hmm. And so we don't foresee something like eBridge taking the place of Synchro at all. eBridge is for people who have much bigger needs. I do think that there's a great reason to use it with QuickBooks. I also think if you're a growing company, We have a number of stores doing millions and millions a year in online transactions, and sooner or later they're going to get to the end of what QuickBooks is capable of, and eBridge is a great transition out of that.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Rick. Just trying to select another question here. Just give us a quick second. Okay, we have one question here about the support for 2 Miva stores that you operate, and you're wondering if you can combine them under one single monthly fee and setup charge. That came from Aubrey Dempsey. Now, Rick, I think we just might need some clarification from you before we actually answer that. Mike, did you want to kind of phrase what we need to know there? I'm not.
Yeah, so the way our connection interfaces with Miva, you need to put in credentials and your store URL and so on. If you have multiple stores, I believe we would require 2 separate setups, but we can have a separate parent account on our integration platform in the cloud that kind of consolidates both so you can see all your transactions for both stores in one mailbox. There are some e-commerce platforms that handle the multi-store at a higher level, and that information is channeled into one connection prior to it hitting our integration platform. So in terms of setup costs, it really depends on whether we need to set up 2 separate accounts on our integration cloud, or if we're getting one connection from Miva with perhaps the distinction within the data itself in terms of which store it came from. Typically in that scenario, I believe, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we would probably, the second account to the same partner would probably have some type of discount or
correct.
To that effect.
Yeah, correct. Typically, if it is a separate store with a separate back end, then we can have a reduction on the monthly fee for the second, third, fourth store, etc.
Okay, there's a question here. What information do we need to get from our EDI vendors or from our vendors that use EDI to ensure eBridge works with this? This is from Joseph. Thank you for the question. So, as mentioned, we're accustomed to working with hundreds of EDI vendors. If we don't already have a connection on our integration cloud, all we would need is the EDI guides and some of the particulars about the communication, such as the EDI IDs that need to be set up and so on, and of course the EDI documents that are mandatory to be traded. And then one level deeper than that, which documents actually need to be integrated with the accounting system. The e-portal will allow you to view anything that your EDI vendor sends you, and then it's just a question of whether or not we need to integrate that right into the accounting or ERP system. But we have standard forms that we can assist you with in terms of getting that correct information from your EDI vendors.
Again, thank you everyone for all the questions. We're seeing more than we usually do. That's why we're taking a little time here to respond to some of them.
I see a couple of questions in here regarding customers and creating a new customer versus working with an existing customer. Part of the setup and the 2 days of time for those small packages, that involves some consultation from our professional services team to understand how your accounting system set up and what your business processes are, so that we can make sure our solution fits what you're doing. We have a number of ways of addressing new customers versus existing customers. There have been scenarios where it's requested that we create a new customer in the accounting system for every web store order. There have been times where we could suggest that if 95% of your customers are one-offs and you don't ever see them again in the future, there's a way where we could post everything to say a Miva customer in QuickBooks, for example, or your accounting system. We still have all of the contact information. We're just not creating a separate customer record. So it really depends on what you need and how many existing customers might exist in your accounting or ERP system already, and how you want to link those together. Like I said, we have several approaches to a particular challenge depending on the business needs of our end users. So we're very accustomed to working that way. Given the fact that we support these 37+ accounting systems, we also support just about every industry, including automotive, retail, perishable food. So we really have to be flexible and have kind of deep business knowledge to understand what our customers' needs are, as opposed to just saying, here's our product, buy it off the shelf and use it out the way we designed it. Otherwise, too bad. There really is, it really is a partnership that way. We need to understand your needs. So hopefully that answers a question about customers.
See a couple questions here from Scott Miller regarding the operating systems we support, as well as any software or hardware requirements that we might have. As far as operating systems are concerned, we support most current versions of Microsoft Windows. Our software, as it stands right now, is not compatible with OS X or Linux. As far as hardware requirements go, I don't really think there are any. That on-premise integration module is fairly lightweight. I don't think there's any robust hardware requirements there. Mike, do you know of any hardware or software requirements or limitations that might factor in?
No. Basically, anybody who has a computer on their desk these days can run our solution. There really isn't anything technically that would raise any red flags. Our system is based on the Windows platform. I should mention that. So, Mac and Linux and so on. We would need some type of Windows environment to make it work. Other than that, we've been around for 17+ years. So, our solution, obviously, the hardware and software back in the day certainly was very lean. So, our solution will work on just about any platform. I do see some questions regarding item attributes. If the back-end data feed between eBridge and Miva Merchant supports the transmission of those particular item attributes, we can certainly pass them back and forth, and typically that's on a per touch point basis. So that's something we would need to investigate, to understand what you need. Are we talking about creating product with item attributes directly in your Miva store, or simply capturing the attributes, say, such as size or color, things like that on the orders coming down? Maybe Rick knows offhand some of the more specifics in that regard. Otherwise, we can follow up on the item attributes.
I would say that it's probably worth following up with the customer individually. The questions are really going to come down to for probably an inventory tracking question. So the way it works is we have master products and essentially assembly products in accounting speak. And so the master product, call it a shirt, would have sizes and colors for as subproducts. And so the software has both a master product that has those attributes tied to it in essentially a field format, but it's also linked in the system to a actual kind of subproduct. And so the inventory is tied to the subproduct. And I believe we actually already handled this with a previous integration. I'm sure it wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. The question from Joseph here, is there a per transaction fee for each EDI order transmitted? No, there isn't a per document or per transaction or volume fee for our EDI documents, which is a little bit different than what everybody else is doing. When you need to do EDI, sometimes you have to procure an EDI van, which basically routes your data. You could think of it as an electronic post office. Their traditional business model has been to charge either by document weight, so if it's a large document, they charge you by kilocharacter, or per document transaction fee. Our monthly subscription for a connection is for unlimited transactions with unlimited volume. So that we don't get into the per document or per size arena. We don't bother with that. So that's kind of a bonus. The shipping and tracking information flow back to the store. That was asked by Jim. Yes, that is one of the touch points that that we had up on the screen, which is shipment information going back out to the web store. Often that can be a very important transaction, because if you follow the order fulfillment cycle, typically a user will proceed through the checkout process and authorize their credit card. But typically, it's not until the order is marked as shipped that the payment is actually captured and remitted through the payment gateway. Now, that's typically a best business practice, but by allowing eBridge to capture the tracking information from the accounting system and update it on Miva, we're changing the order status to a shipped state and presenting the tracking number, which often will trigger the email to the customer with the tracking information and mark it as shipped and release the payment. There's a question here. Can you create an order export from Miva to several packages? We key the order multiple times, and that's by Levi. We can essentially tailor the data processing flow to be anything you want. So, part of the data flow is to process it between our eBridge application into the accounting system. We can route that to a folder on your network. We can, repurpose or reuse that data several times, as well as pushing it into the accounting system. We will reformat that into a proprietary format that you might need. There might be a CSV file that you need to import that data into some other, maybe obscure data system. So we can do anything on the data manipulation and custom data transformations that might be necessary. So during that data mapping process on premise, we can insert any type of business logic. So we can hard code values. We can set fields conditionally. So we're entirely flexible on that side.
Okay, so we've got a few more questions here. Mark Summerfield, I'm just trying to find you here in the list. Just going to unmute you for a quick sec. We just wanted to know, is Reynolds and Reynolds Automotive, is that ADI trading partner you're looking to interact with?
Is it what? I'm sorry?
Is that a EDI trading partner you're looking at integrating with? Or we're not familiar right off the top of our heads with Reynolds and Reynolds Automotive.
Trading partner? It's just a software in the automotive industry, dealer management system.
Okay, so that would be on the back end, and you're wondering if we can sync that up with your Miva store then?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, we'll probably have to follow up with you after. I don't know if we've ever come up to it yet or not, but that's usually how we, build out our portfolio of supported e-commerce, or not e-commerce, sorry, accounting packages and CRM systems and that sort, is by customers such as yourself bringing the need to us. So we can take that offline and investigate that a little further to see if that has come up, and if not, if there's anything we might be able to do for you there.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem. We just got one last question here that we'd like to draw some attention to, and Rick, we wouldn't mind your input on this as well, just because we're not exactly too familiar with StoneEdge. We briefly discussed it a little ahead of this webinar, but someone's asking how we compare to a product like StoneEdge, and Rick, I just wondered if you might be able to chime in on that.
Sure. So fundamentally, while there may seem like there's some similarities on the surface, they're very different products. eBridge is a connector to your ERP system, and there are some cases where StoneEdge does that. But really, StoneEdge is a multi-channel order management system, and there are plenty of instances where I can imagine using eBridge if there's someday a connection between eBridge and StoneEdge to therefore connect to your multi-channel system. That would also solve the problem mentioned earlier about how many times you'd have to do the integration. So StoneEdge is really designed as a place to collect your orders from Miva Merchant, your brick and mortar store, eBay, Amazon, all into one order management and customer service application. From there, you can print shipping labels and process credit cards and do those kind of things. But StoneEdge itself is not an ERP system. Ultimately, it has to go back into an accounting package that does your accounting needs, and this is where eBridge comes in.
Great, thanks a lot, Rick. So I think we're going to wrap that up here. I think we've covered the majority of questions that have come in. So on behalf of everyone here and Rick at Miva, I'd like to thank everyone again for coming today. And yeah, we have been recording the presentation as well today too. So surely by the end of the week that'll be up on our site. I'll let Rick know as well so he can let you guys know through the proper Miva channels. Also, if you're not already, be sure to follow us on Twitter. Our handle is eBridge Connects. We'll just send that out over the chat there. If anyone's on Twitter, we'd love to connect with you and have you follow us to get more information about webinars such as this and any other updates we'd like to share. If you do have any questions that didn't get answered or would like to discuss anything further, feel free to reach out to myself or Dave here at eBridge or shoot an email. It's just that generalsales@ebridgesoft.com. So once again, thanks everybody for coming and have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.